Hi there, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be starting the Decades Challenge. There are a lot of long-term challenges in the Sims franchise that other Simmers do that I do and don't see the appeal of. And this is one that I wasn't sure about at first, but once I set up my save file, I found that it was actually quite a lot of fun, so I thought I would record it and share my progress on my channel. I'm doing it a little bit differently from the standard rules. The standard rules are that you start in 1890. I am starting in 1790. Also, the general rules of the Decades Challenge are based around basing the game in North America, and I don't live in North America, so I am basing the game in a territory that's more familiar to me. I am basing it in Scotland. So in terms of what I built the house like, I decided to build it in the style of a black house, which I'm going to show some pictures of here. And in this video today, I'll show you the building of the house and the decisions that I made to get it to look the way it did. And I'll introduce you to the main characters that are going to be a part of this challenge. And that's probably all we'll do in today's episode. And then the next time I pick up with the next episode, we'll start playing 1790. And with that said, let's get to it. So the lot I am building in is 2 Old Mill Lane in Henford-on-Bagley. I've chosen Henford-on-Bagley for a couple of reasons. One, it looks most like the sort of landscape that I would expect for a black house to exist in. And secondly, Henford-on-Bagley is one of the better worlds for not having townhouses in the background. There is a little bit of that, but from this lot, mostly what you see is just countryside, so it's easy to sort of help create the illusion that this is set in the past. So one of the main things about the Black House architecture is that sort of one side of the house is residential for the people and the other side is residential for the animals. So what I have attempted to build, or what I did end up building, was a long stone house like the ones in the pictures I showed at the start of the video, with the thatched roof, and the animals live in one end and the humans live in the other. For the animal shed that I put in, I chose to have the cow because there wouldn't have been llamas in Scotland in 1790. I have also put in a chicken coop and some chickens because it wouldn't have been unusual for people there to have chickens. They probably would have had sheep as well, so I may end up adding mini sheep or mini goats at some point because it wouldn't be unreasonable to have those. I didn't add them at this point and didn't use them for my first week of play, but I may add them later on as I expand and grow. The architecture of this house is pretty simple because it is just made of stone with the straw roof. There's no particular doors or formal furniture. The initial draft build that I did of this, I did a build of the house and then I play tested it a little bit, and also I played the game just for a little bit just to establish the families and the background before I started officially playing the series for what will be what is shown on my channel here. So when I show you the characters that I've created, I'll explain what their backstory is and how they've all come together and where the starting point of the story is. But at the end of this point of me building here, the way the house looks might be slightly different to how it looks when I actually start showing you my gameplay, because by the time it came to my gameplay I did change one or two things, mainly just the colours of like the flooring and the interior walls. And I changed my mind about where I put the bath and a couple of other things. For the kitchen, now obviously they wouldn't have had fridges back in 1790, and I did originally set this lot as off the grid, but I ended up finding that that was too difficult to deal with, trying to get past the various challenges that that gave me. So the lot isn't actually off the grid in the end, but it does have the simple living challenge attached to it. So my Sims are having to very much eat food that they're growing themselves. And the exception to that is I have allowed them to purchase flour and sugar. My plan was that I would have them actually go down to the stall in Henford-on-Bagley in the village centre and record them buying that from the stall, because the stall itself is quite on theme for being a period piece, but the surrounding buildings and the road and that isn't really in keeping with the time period that I'm recording this. So I'm not going to include footage of them acquiring the flour and the sugar. They will just have the flour and the sugar. Everything else, obviously their milk, their eggs, all their fruit and vegetables and everything, and their meat, they can get from their animals and from their farm that they have here. None of these Sims will have a job. The idea is that this will actually be sort of a croft and a working farm, and over the generations as they grow, the family will inherit it and expand it. And up in it's mainly in the Hebrides of Scotland, the black houses very much still exist. Some of them are kept in their original condition, like the photos I showed at the beginning of the video, but some of them over time have been modernised and are still very much lived in now. There's been various types of changes are made to them over the years. Some have been modernised to a point, some have been renovated quite a bit. So my plan was to do that in this playthrough as well, that I would keep it the way it looks just now, probably for the first 50 years at least of the gameplay, and then at that point I would maybe look to start to do some renovations as better technology and materials became available. So yeah, going back to the off the grid thing, I have put this as on the grid, which has allowed me to have the fridge freezer and not have to think about it, and I use the fridge freezer there that looks like it's a cabinet to try and disguise it a bit better. There is a sink in the kitchen. Obviously they wouldn't have had running water back then, but they would have had a sink that they would have collected water and used that way, so I'm still just having it there for the sake of having it there. For the bath, I've used the wooden bath, and that will remain as the bath for quite a while, which makes gameplay quite challenging because it's only got a hygiene of 1, and when the Sims go to take a bath they're in it for quite a long time. And I ended up changing that before I actually started playing, and I'll explain that when I come to play it, what I actually added in, but I do still have the wooden bath. Initially I put an outdoor toilet stall to have as the outdoor toilets that they would go and use, but that very quickly got dirty and caused like tense moodlets when I was doing my sort of backstory play for the game. So I swapped that out for I think it's called the in-house outhouse, which is the wooden toilet, and I just put them in behind little miniature stalls that I built, which again you'll see when I actually show my gameplay. And other than that, just when I had enough money, I added a bit more of the landscaping. In the first decade, in the 1790s, the only money that will be spent on the house will be possibly purchasing animals or expanding the farm aspect of it, or it will be spent on landscaping to make the lot look nicer. I bought a fairly big lot. I didn't cheat money for the family, so they just had their initial starting funds that I just worked with what I had. I started out with, for my background gameplay, I started out with a family of 4. There is a mother and father and 2 daughters, but when I go into the gameplay you'll see there's just the mother, the father and one of the daughters, because the other daughter I've done a background gameplay and developed her story where she has got married and moved out and started her own family. So there is actually 2 active households in this save file that will be part of this story. For lighting around the house, I've just used a lot of candles on the walls. Candles would obviously be appropriate, and I've got a fireplace. The black houses didn't have windows. The original ones didn't have windows. Some of the ones, as they got renovated, as they became a bit more modern, mounted windows into the roof, but certainly none of the old style ones had any windows on the walls. So the inside was quite dark, so there is quite a lot of candles mounted at various points to try and brighten it up a little bit, so that when I'm playing inside the house it doesn't look too dull and dark. So to give a bit of structure of this playthrough, I went in and changed the calendar, and I've made the seasons last 1 week, which is the shortest amount of time I can make a season last. And I have taken out the existing holidays, which you're going to see me doing here. Unfortunately, you can't take out things like the Spice Festival or the Romance Festival or the Geek Con or anything. But I've taken out things like Winterfest and Love Day and any other holidays, and I've replaced them with my own custom holidays. There will be a holiday every Saturday. Every Saturday will be the end of a season, and every Saturday will also be the end of a year. So there'll be a year for a week, and it will be 1 season that entire year. Because it wouldn't be appropriate to have Christmas when it was the wrong season, I just created my own set of holidays. So once I had finished editing the calendar, this is what I ended up with, and you can see on the Saturday at the end of each week, there's my custom holidays there. So I played the first week as spring, just to set up the background of the story. So my gameplay will start on the first day of summer, and that will be 1790. And the holiday for summer is called Midsummer, and the activities are decorate, have a party spirit, play games and have mischief spirit. Then at the end of autumn it's bonfire night, so they will decorate, have a fire, have fireworks and the party spirit. At the end of winter it's Christmas, decorate, party spirit, festive lighting, festive spirit and open presents. And at the end of spring it's Easter with an egg hunt, baking, decorate and spring cleaning. Now, some of those activities, the games, it will just be chess because that's all they've got at this point. The fireworks and fire, it will be quite limited until we move forward in time a little bit. But these are sort of traditional, like, Christian holidays that would have existed in Scotland back at that time. So it was to try and keep it semi-consistent and to try and have a celebration at the end of the year just to round out when a year ended and when a new year would start, and to give a bit of structure to the gameplay. So with that said, I'll now go and show you the characters that we'll be playing with. So our first character, our matriarch, is Mary Duguid, and you will see at the bottom left of the screen, just ignore all the characters that are appearing there. I used an existing family from a save file and just amended them for the purposes of this one. Mary's aspiration is to have a big happy family. She is loyal, romantic and creative. I'm going to stick with the rules of the Decades Challenge that all the women will have the creative trait. And Mary is an adult as well, and these are her outfits. That's her everyday outfit there. This is her formal outfit. This is her sports outfit, I guess. This is her sleepwear. Her party outfit, which is the same as her formal outfit. Swimwear, I did give swimwear to everyone. They might not use it, but I gave them it anyway. Summer wear and winter wear. Our next character is Robert Duguid. He is the patriarch of the family. He is an elder sim. He is Mary's husband, obviously. His aspiration is country caretaker, and he is family-oriented. He loves the outdoors, and he's self-assured. In keeping with the times of 1790, Mary has married a slightly older man, as was often the case, that women would marry men who were a little bit older than them. There's not a huge age difference, but obviously Mary is still an adult and Robert is an elder. So this is Robert's everyday wear that he's in just now, and this is his formal wear, which wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it was close enough. That's his sportswear, that's his sleepwear, that's his party wear, which again is also his formal wear. That's his swimwear. I think every member of the family has the same swimwear. That's his warm weather wear, which is the same as his sportswear. And that's his cold weather wear. Very much sort of like a farmhand outfit. So the oldest daughter in the family is Elizabeth, and you'll see at the top there that her surname is MacLeod. I made her with the surname MacLeod because she marries a man called Stuart MacLeod in the background gameplay that I've done for this. Her aspiration is fabulously wealthy. She is creative. She is a love bug. And she is materialistic. Now, Elizabeth is very fond of her family. She's always very happy for them, but she grew up in relative poverty, and as the oldest child in the family and there being no sons in the family, she felt there was a lot of pressure on her to marry well, which is why she is materialistic, and you will see that her outfits that she has are more sort of formal and upmarket and just make her look like someone who would have had more money for a living during those times. And the fourth member of the family is Penelope Duguid, who is the younger sister. And just like Elizabeth, she is also a young adult. Her aspiration is soulmate. She is creative, generous, and romantically reserved. So unlike her sister, Penelope doesn't want to marry for money, she wants to marry for love. Her own mother married for love, which is probably why the family ended up with no money, but such as it is. Penelope, as you can see, her clothes are a little bit more in keeping with those of her parents. They're a bit more run down and basic. She tends to wear her hair down because she's a little bit wild and a little bit rough and ready and maybe not quite so ladylike. She's a bit more hands-on on the farm, but that is her outfits there. So during the week that I played the game, just to set up the background story of these characters, I have actually created two other characters who I'm not going to show here. They'll be introduced as part of the gameplay. One of them is Stuart MacLeod, who is Elizabeth's husband. Stuart is an adult sim to Elizabeth's young adult. The age difference between them will be a little bit bigger than the age difference between Mary and Robert, and that will be reflected with how and when the sims age up, because the idea with Elizabeth is obviously that she's married for money. So she has married somebody quite a bit older than her. And in this week that I played the game, she met him, romanced him, got married to him, and they had a baby together who at the start of our gameplay will be an infant, and his name is Bruce. And they live in a mansion in another part of Henford-on-Bagley that is very much an upscale, very nice, very lovely house. Not built by me. I will give credit to the person who built it and show you where to find it in the gallery when we get to that point in the gameplay. And another character I've created is the character that will be Penelope's love interest, or Penny's love interest. And he will be introduced throughout our first year of gameplay. Penny will meet up with him and they will start a romantic relationship together. He is not a a wealthy person like Stuart. The idea is that because Penny has chosen love over money, she won't be moving out of the farm like her sister did. Rather, her partner, who will become her husband, will move into the farm and he will take over the farm after Robert dies. So, although she didn't marry for money, as her parents might have liked for her, she is at least going to be there to carry on running the farm and to carry on living on this lot and to continue the story from here. So the main story will be the story of Penny and her husband and their children and that side of things. But Elizabeth obviously has her husband and her son in another house in Henford-on-Bagley, and she will still be involved. She will still be coming along into various things. She'll be dipping in and out of the story. How heavily I involve that household going forward in my gameplay, I don't know. I'll just see. I've been trying to do it organically so far, but if anyone does particularly enjoy me playing with that family as well, you can let me know in the comments and I will actively include them in the gameplay as well. My main focus for now will just be this household here and following Penny as our sort of main character. And now that all my introductions and explanations are out of the way, I'll end the episode here for today. And I'm going to be uploading new episodes of this every Thursday. I thought Thursday because Throwback Thursday. I would do the Decades Challenge updates on Thursdays. So the first episode will be up on Thursday, and I plan to do a year per episode. If that proves to be a bit too long, I might change that, but at the moment that's what I'll be going with. So on Thursday I'll be uploading 1790 as the first episode. And if you want to keep track of this and you want to follow this series, please consider subscribing to the channel and let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, be good to hear from you. Thanks for watching.